Welcome to Season 3 of Matt's Garage. Let's do it! Right now, Daddy's trying to take the transmission and engine out of the Explorer, and eventually he'll put it in the Bronco. Today, Daddy's going to show you how he took the steering box apart.
From the mouths of babes, Season 3 is officially started. Thanks for your patience, everyone, with my Chevy K2500 little meandering there. I'm ready. I'm committed. I'm fully into it. I've got the Explorer in the garage right now because I'm waiting on my paint gun so I can finish the power steering box. So I've got the manifold off. I've got the electrical connections taken off, and I'm just about to pull the radiator and start crawling underneath, which is not fun, and disconnecting the exhaust and taking the transfer case and all that stuff. Everything I can, drive shafts, everything out. In terms of the power steering box, I'm waiting for my gun. I've gotten my paint products. I'm doing a two-part epoxy primer, single-stage gloss black paint. The reason for that is, the two-stage base coat, clear coat. It's not necessary for steering gear. I think the fact that I'm doing a two-part product is already a step up. Most people rattle can them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to get practice doing two-part products so that when it counts and it's seen, I've got some skills in my bag. As far as the disassembly, I'm going to show you that over the next few scenes. I narrate over it because filming it and talking was just a bit difficult. There was a lot of concentration I had to do to get that thing apart. It wasn't hard. You can totally do it. I think you can get it rebuilt for a few $100, and that might be money well spent if you're completely not comfortable with it. But I think if you have any mechanical acumen, it's definitely something you can tackle on your own. You don't really need a whole lot of specialty tools. It's just like that experience of the feel of knowing, hey, no, this isn't right, or whatever, if that makes sense to you. So I'm going to get back to work on this for now. You guys are going to watch me take apart that steering box, and then the next episode is when I'll put it back together after it's been painted, all right? Enjoy! In order to get the steering pitman arm off, I thought to use a large bearing separator from Harbor Freight. It's thinner, so I figured it could get between the body and the pitman arm. So I pulled it out. It's a pretty stout unit, and I thought for sure this would work. I did manage to get it on there, and here you see me putting tie downs to catch the steering box so that when the pitman arm breaks free, it actually doesn't drop the steering box into nothing. In retrospect, I could have probably put just a box down with some foam, and I'm cranking this thing down to the full 20-ton capacity. I've got a blanket hanging in front of me in case this thing shatters and scatters. I don't want to die of metric socket shrapnel. That'd be no way for an American man to go. That's the old taparoo to no avail. Tried that a few times and decided to give up. The pitman arm was gacked anyway from when I removed the tie rod end, so I thought, let me just cut this sucker. A little tip if you're grinding, just throw a cardboard, always have your fire extinguisher first of all, but I throw a cardboard box down in front of where I'm grinding just to catch the dust and the metal flakes that come off of it. It makes cleanup so much easier. And then I put it on the press and it popped right off. Didn't catch it on film, sorry. Let's start the disassembly. Here's Tom's Bronco Parts kit. I think it's like $30, money well spent, high quality stuff with 2 sector shaft bearings, 2-sided instructions. I make a photocopy of each side so I can get them dirty and keep the master clean. Grab your Allen wrench set. This takes a 3/16 inch Allen wrench and I believe a 9/16 box end wrench. I sort of wedged the Allen wrench down on my table and cranked on the 9/16. It broke free. Once it breaks the torque, it's easy to take off. Now you can leave this on. I've seen guys do that in rebuild videos, but the kit comes with a new nut anyway, so I took that off, and you'll see how I would have ended up needing to do this anyway. So this is a 9/16. I tried using a breaker bar, but that was awkward, so I went to the trusty, handy-dandy, fancy Harbor Freight impact wrench. That whizzed all of the bolts right off. Banged on this for a little bit, thought that would get it off. Tried to wedge something in there, thought that would get it off. That didn't do anything, but what I figured out was just by cranking on the Allen wrench on that set screw thing, eventually it would just force it out, and that will pop the cap off, and you can see there's the O-ring, and the kit comes with a nice O-ring embedded into the brass spacer. I'm monkeying around trying to get the sector shaft out using a pitman arm kind of half back on there, and that was going nowhere, so I just gave up on that for now and turned my attention to the O-ring covering the rack piston, the snap ring. Scrape out all the crud and rust. I mean, it's just mild steel, so it collects a lot of the grease and grime and rusts out from getting washed. And here I bang it into position so that the opening is near the little access hole on the side. Drive a punch in there and it'll separate enough that you can get that O-ring out. It does take work, but it certainly wasn't the hardest part of this build. There, it's coming loose. Yeah, and there it's free. So put that aside. You get a new one of those in the kit, so no need to keep that. And then the instructions said to turn it in the lefterly direction. And I lived in Australia and India, so I thought maybe my left is different. So I went back to the sector shaft, started beating on that thing, beating the snot out of that thing. It says put gentle pressure on it, but whatever. I mean, you'll never get that thing out with gentle pressure. Okay, so I give up on that. Go back to the steering shaft. Turn it left. Make it go left. Left's the way to go. Oh, God. Okay, whatever. What is it? Oh, look at it squirt juice there. I douched my whole tool set. And then you go back to banging on the sector shaft. And then finally, after banging on the sector shaft, I gave it the old Scott paper towel grippy job. And after I saw it give a little bit, I went ahead and grabbed it with my ample meat paws. There it went. But it took a lot of persuasion, and it's because the bearings were fouled. The needle bearings actually came out of the box when I did this. And then I thought, you know what? What if the instructions are wrong? What if I need to turn this to the right? Oh, there it goes. Easy peasy. Turn it to the right. Okay, I mean, there's other steering boxes where I'm sure it's the left, but in this case, it's the right. So you keep turning to the right, and then the rack piston will come out, followed by a set of balls. How many balls do you have? Look, I don't want to know, but I have 34 balls. So you want to make sure you have 34 balls. Half of them will be chrome, and half of them will be non-chrome. Very important to keep these because I don't see anywhere where you can just order balls. I mean, you're ordering kits. So I put those in a bag. And then I went to work loosening this. Actually, in retrospect, I should have marked the location of the retaining nut there, but that's not a big deal. Then again, maybe it is, and I'll figure it out at high speeds on a freeway somewhere. So you want to take a punch, and you want to punch, not the top here like I am, but the face of the threaded portion of the input where your shaft goes in, and the face of the housing. And you want to line those up because this thing has preload, just like a pinion nut or anything else. You want to put the exact same preload when you put it back together. And the way you do that is you punch the locations and then you count the threads. So I've got 1, 2, 3 threads, and then the 4th thread is just on the edge of the flange. Again, you got the dots lined up, and getting the thread depth will get you to your preload. It'll get tight right there, and you're supposed to use a spanner wrench to loosen this and tighten it, but I don't have a spanner wrench. Do you guys have a spanner wrench? And I thought, well, maybe if I get a punch in and I just put lateral pressure on with a hammer, it'll come loose. And sure enough, a couple taps, a couple light, gentle, sort of featherly taps, and it did come loose. So I just sort of whiz it out of there, and then you'll pull the whole valve assembly out with the worm gear. I don't take this really apart in this video, but it does come apart pretty easily. There's a bearing retainer you need to snap off, and what I'm doing there, these are the needle bearings that came out of the bearing, so that bearing was totally fouled. A magnet comes in handy here. Just pull out the washer there. That goes on the worm gear. And okay, so you've got a snap ring, a thin seal, a thick seal, one bearing, and then a large another bearing, both the same size bearings. One's here, comes in from this side, the other gets driven in from the other side, the top of the box. And you got to get all that out. And the Tom's Bronco Parts kit comes with both bearings. The trick was getting the seals out. They were really in there, and I didn't know, I couldn't really get to them because of their location. So anyway, I took the snap ring off. The washer comes out. You don't need to keep these washers. They come new in the kit. Just kind of remember the orientation. I perceive that there's a flat side, so I make sure the flat side goes down. And then I tried a screwdriver. I tried a big screwdriver. None of that was able to move those seals. I decided, you know what? Let's get serious. Let's get the safety goggles on and try to punch out that other bearing that comes in from the top, and then maybe I can access the seals coming the other way. Clumsy there. Just it kept falling through. I need a longer brass punch. Add it to my Christmas list. I banged the snot out of this thing forever. I mean, I just could not get this stupid... I mean, look at the camera dropped. You know, like the tripod couldn't hold the camera weight for me banging on the table for so long. Anyway, gosh. Yeah, Jay from Bullshit Corner would have a word for that bearing, and it would start with a C, end with an R, and have Aksaku in the middle. So, you see that bearing driver set in the back? I highly recommend one. You get one on Amazon. They're spaced 1 millimeter apart of different diameters, and they're great for driving bearings. Ultimately, I fail using it here, but I've used it to install bearings, and they're awesome rather than trying to find the right socket. Grab yourself a screwdriver, take off the channel that holds the balls in, and I had to put this piston in a vise to break free that inspection plug. Took some force, but then I got it out, looked inside, inspected it, looked good. Here I'm trying to separate the valve pieces, and I think I do it more in my install video, so you'll see more of that. And there's the box, pretty much completely disassembled. I took it to the sandblaster. Oh yeah, these plugs, the rebuild kit doesn't come with them, but they're fine. So yeah, this is what it looks like after the sandblaster, and about 20 minutes in the blast cabinet, and it looks great, ready for paint, man. I'm really excited to put this thing back together. Hope this wasn't too boring. Wait, I almost forgot. I'm supposed to give you guys a preview. So shortly after this, I rented a trailer with my tow rig and dropping her off at the sandblasters, baby. Yeah. Can't wait.